it's Zach. Welcome back to the Heroverse. And guys, officially, it's Moon Knight episode 2 day. Also, we had the whole craziness with the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness tickets being dropped. I just want to start off this video by saying I hope you guys got your tickets. And for people that are still in line trying to get tickets, I hope you guys secure the bag on getting the tickets. But guys, as you all know, this will be my spoiler review talking about Moon Knight episode 2 called Summon the Suit. Guys, this was a really crazy episode, and it's crazy enough that, like, it took me some time to process what I saw because it was just a really great episode, and, like, this episode really confirms to Steven that this is actually real, that, you know, there is somebody else, and there's more than meets the eye of him finding out that it's not just a dream. But we start off this episode with, you know, we hear, like, this beating, and it's the same beating down of Moon Knight and how it ended from last week's episode, and him, kicking the shit out of the Jackal. So we hear that, and then we see Mark jump out of the bed, he gets snagged, and we see that exact moment in the trailers. And I love how, like, we're getting, like, what we saw in the trailers is, like, what we're seeing in the earlier episodes. So I'm really liking how we're seeing this stuff, and it was a really cool moment at the moment that he thinks that, oh my god, it could be a dream that he had or a nightmare. It feels like he seems it could be, until the moment where, like, you know, he's going to the mirror trying to convince himself, like, oh, hello, are you still there? Because as we all know, he met Mark in the last episode. Like, he met Mark, and he's, like, convinced to himself, oh, could this be real? But I feel like now, more than anything, he knows it's real, but he just wanted to see, oh, like, oh, you're not answering now, are you? Like, oh, is it real or is it fake? Or he's kind of thinking it might be real. And, of course, we see him go to work. He's stressed out to beat the band, and when he gets into work, that's when he finds out that the place is trashed. And that's when he kind of realizes, oh my god, this must have been real. Like, I'm for sure positive that this was real. And he goes into the security office and tells the one dude that doesn't even know his name, like, oh, like, you know, be prepared because you're going to see some craziness right here. And it's him just running around, and there's nothing chasing after him. And that confirmed what everybody was wondering. If anybody else could see the jackals, and it turns out you can't. They're invisible. And like, at first I was like, okay, like, I thought earlier in the episode, are they just, like, invisible, or are they just, like, can they hurt anybody else, or can they only go after somebody that has a god within them? Because we all know that Khonshu is using Mark Spector as the avatar, and we learned a lot more about that in this episode on how that all works. So when at that moment we're just thinking, oh my god, is this all in his head? Because I thought we actually saw the Jackal in the place and anybody else could see it on the cams, but it turns out no. And we get to the moment where, like, after the whole bathroom sequence on the security cams, we see Steven walk up. I told my sister, that's not Steven, that's Mark, because you could tell by the way he's moving and the way he, like, facial expression he's making in that moment, it's not Steven, it's Mark. And I thought for sure, like, did he do something to the security tapes, or, like, oh, like, would anybody know? But I was like, no. Like, I was like, he probably didn't do anything to the security tapes because there's nothing that's showing anything suspicious other than it looks like Steven is just insane on the security tapes, running around the, you know, the museum at night and, you know, causing mayhem in the bathroom, which I thought was funny because the one dude that he's talking to that can never get his name right said, oh my god, did you, like, are you the one that clogged the bathroom or something? Or he said some stupid shit. I was like, okay. Like, I just thought that was funny to me, that it looks like he's insane. And I do feel bad for Steven because, like, he just can't catch a break, thinking of what's real and what's not real. And, you know, I just love how, like, he's for sure knowing now that this must be real, or I must be going insane. So from there, you know, he gets called in, gets fired, which was very sad to see him get fired, and they say, oh, you need help, I'm gonna suggest you go get some help. And it looks like just some, like, you know, facility that, you know, he'd be in a padded room. Like, I feel like, you know, the brochure looked nice, but I feel like he would get thrown in a padded room because they think he's insane, especially from what we see from the security tapes. And it was sad, but we also got it was like a promo poster of, like, of Steven's name tag. So I felt that should have been a hint to us to be like, oh my god, Steven's gonna get fired in the next episode. And I feel like that's also big. It's like, I feel like that's also the writers trying to tell us that Steven is gonna be put to the side. He's gonna find out who he really is and find out that he really doesn't essentially even exist, that there's a main person. I feel like that's kind of like the writers trying to tell us that he is going to realize that he's not Steven, he's Mark, and he's going to find out that there's only one person and it is Mark and stuff. So I feel like that was kind of cool of them to kind of like foreshadow that like Steven even realizing that he's like losing himself and he's slowly going to turn into the person that he is, which is Mark. So I thought that was really cool that they were kind of trying to tell us that in a way, and also try to tell us like, you know, his life is falling apart with his other alter ego that actually is him. And he's the alter ego, and he's finding that out. So I thought essentially that was cool as well. So from there, you know, he ends up going back, trying to figure out, okay, I got fired, things are going wrong, maybe I should go look at the stuff that was in my apartment. And he ends up talking to the one golden mime dude that's just like the golden statue dude that's just sitting there and like hears Steven talk about his day at the end of his day of work every single time. It seems like it's like a routine he has, and says, oh, you know, I should do some research, right? I should go back to my apartment and see what's going on. And he ends up going back to his apartment, ends up getting all the stuff, ends up finding out that he has like Mark Spector has a storage locker, or he didn't even know the last name. So he just thinks like, oh, I'm here looking for a storage locker. My name's like under Mark. I don't even know what the last name is, but can you help me? And the dude's like, yeah, I know who you are. I never forget a face. Sends him to the storage locker, which again, I'm gonna put this up on the storage locker. It says the number, but it also has a barcode. And in the first episode, at some certain point, there was another barcode, and somebody brought this up on TikTok. I didn't even know this, that when you scan the barcode with your phone, it actually pops up the issue of a Moon Knight comic, which I thought was really cool. So if you scan that barcode, I bet you would pop up another issue of Moon Knight. So they're kind of leaving little Easter eggs here and there, and that's what I love about like the Marvel shows and Marvel movies, is they find clever ways to put in Easter eggs, and there's a barcode on this number. If you want to scan it, it'll pop up the issue of a Moon Knight comic, which I thought was really cool. I don't know if I'm the first one to point this one out, but, you know, someone's probably bound to have found it at some point after the first one that someone pointed out in the first episode, but I thought that was really cool that I spotted that. And from there, he goes in, and then we find Mark's been staying there, it seems like. There's, like, a little cot in the corner. He has a bag full of, like, different sorts of money all around the globe. We end up finding his, like, Mark's passport, and it says, you know, like, it says Mark Spector, and that's when Steven finds out Mark's last name, saying, okay, or, you know, it says Mark Spector, and, you know, he finds a gun, and that's when he finds out what the hell's going on, and then that's when Mark comes out and talks to Steven against a reflection. And I love that, like, that's the only way Steven and Mark are able to communicate is through a reflection, because it's a reflection of yourself, and I just love how that is. So he sees the reflection in the steel doors of the storage locker, and he's just talking to Mark, and he's like, oh, what is all this? And he's like, you shouldn't even be here, Steven. You know, you should go back to the place, you know what I mean? And you shouldn't even be here, you shouldn't be seeing any of this. And we kind of get an understanding of, like, he's explaining to Steven, you know, Khonshu uses me as an avatar, I'm his vessel, and I'm here to do the last, I forget what he said for it, like the last mission for him, and, you know, I can get, you know, I could just be left alone or something. Like, he's like, I have one last mission to do, and I can't have you get in the way, like, this is bigger than this doesn't concern you, blah, 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 blah. And I just love the argument of, like, he's like, Steven's like, you ruined my life, you know what I mean? I got fired because of you, my life's crazy because of you, I'm not sure what's really even going on, and it's just, and it's crazy that you're telling us that, like, that I'm an avatar for, you know, Khonshu, or, like, you know, you're, like, or Khonshu's using you as the avatar or whatever. Like, that's just crazy to me. And that was cool to hear him say that, and for, like, Steven to finally get some insight on what's going on. But he even thinks it's crazy, and he's like, you know, I don't have to do any of this, you know. I guess, like, he's, you know, like, you're using me as the vessel, but I don't want to have any blood on my hands. You've hurt people, and I'm never going to let you take over again. And he's like, it's not what it seems to be, that, you know, I'm just hurting people. I am the vessel for Khonshu. I am his avatar. I am here to do his bidding until I'm deemed to be let free, and, you know, he doesn't need me anymore or whatever. But we end up finding more into why, Khonshu chose him in a way, I guess, as his avatar, and we end up finding out what Khonshu's plans are after he's done with Mark, which is very interesting, and why Mark kind of is, like, in a way, kind of thinking I should just keep being his avatar. We kind of feel that through this episode. because we end up meeting after the big scene, after like he refuses to let Mark take over, and he said he was going to take all of the money and the passport and everything, and pretty much show it to like the authorities. I'm like, I think to myself, if you would show that to them, they would think that you did it, and that you are a mercenary, and that you're the bad person that hasn't like a different identity. And, you know, like, that would just be bad. And he said, you can't show them that. You can't do this. Put the bag down. And then next thing you know, we see the lights flashing, and Khonshu is chasing him down the hallway. And we get this funny moment, which I'll pop it up right here, where it literally stays on his scream. And it zooms in or it zooms out. Like, and it reminded me of, like, back in the olden day, like, the horror movies, when someone would get scared, they would go, ah, and it would go like it would just do, like, the slow thing. At first, me and my sister thought it was just, like, it was, like, free, like, it was a glitch on Disney Plus. But no, that they literally do that on purpose to show, like, how scary he got. It was like a little comedic moment. It ends up running out, and then he ends up running into Layla, which we find out a lot about Layla, and I kind of speculated we would see her in this episode, or see her at some point, and we would get more of an insight onto who Mark is, because Mark really didn't give much of an insight on that he's a mercenary, other than the fact of, again, Steven coming across his bag, coming across the vault, and, you know, or the storage locker, and finding out, okay, like, I must be some bad dude, what's going on, and it's like, and really, like, Mark isn't really unveiling on who he is, and really, like, and unveiling on, like, what his life is, because he doesn't want Steven involved, because, again, Steven isn't, like, an alternate ego of Mark. Mark's the main host, so, like, Steven, in a way, shouldn't really know what's going on. And we still don't know quite yet on why there is alter egos of Steven. And, like, we don't know why. Hopefully we'll get an explanation on why he has this other alter ego, and what happens that would even happen. We don't know really yet. It could have been the fact of, you know, we end up finding out in this episode when people end up, you know, taking him back to Arthur Harrow, and they end up doing some research on Mark, and end up finding out that he was a mercenary that got shot in the back of the head, and he ended up dying, and they're like, oh, how are you here, and all that stuff. So I do like how we don't quite know yet about a lot about Mark's past, but we end up finding out a little bit more through Layla, when Layla gets introduced, which was very insane, because she's like, why didn't you call me, Mark? Like, why didn't you tell me that you were okay? Like, what's going on? And I'm thinking when, like, the moment where, like, we see Mark walking out of the museum, Mark must have turned on his locator. It must have been Steven when, like, he called Layla. I'm not quite sure. And Layla ends up coming there, and I guess she wants to give Mark divorce papers, which that shocked me, because we end up finding out that they were married. And that shocked me a lot, because I thought that either A, they liked each other and maybe they were dating, but finding out that they were married and they had a life together, and that shocked Steven, because, like, oh, I would never divorce you. I would never leave you. Like, what, like, you seem so nice. And that's when kind of, like, Layla's realizing in a way, like, oh, I can't tell if this is an act, or I can't tell if this is real. I think she'll find out really later on that this is actually, like, that's not Mark, it's Steven, and they have split personalities, and there's more here on why that's happening, because we don't quite know yet on why Mark has control some of the time, and Steven has majority of the control. It seems like the more the person is in control, the harder it is for the person to transfer over. You know what I mean? Like to take over, because Mark really can't take over him unless Steven really allows him to. So it seems like the longer the person is in control, the harder it is for the other alter ego to take over. And it's funny because, like, again, Mark was the main host until whatever happened, and now Steven's, and like, Mark really can't take back over his main body unless Steven lets him take over. So I can't wait to see how that's all going to unravel. And again, to find out that Layla and then we're married, and like, and saying, oh, you wanted me to come here to give you the divorce papers and all that, and she ends up finding out about, like, she knows about the Moon Knight suit and him summoning the suit. So how much does she know? We don't quite know yet, and I think we'll get that in the next episodes to come, because we end up, you know, getting to the place where it's like, they end up going back to the place. She ends up giving them the divorce papers. Like, I would never sign these papers. People come to Steven's door. Steven doesn't know who they are. He kind of thinks that maybe it's the authorities or maybe it's the people that, like maybe it's his old, boss trying to set him up with getting help that he needed, apparently, that they suggested he needed. So he kind of thinks that, it could either A, be the police, or these could be the people that, that my boss sent so I can get some help. But it ends up being, Harrow's people. They end up trying to bring him to Harrow, and Harrow's trying to convince him that he is a good guy, that what he is doing is he's trying to help people, and he's trying to, serving Ammit is like, if we bring back Ammit, she'll be able to, stop evil before it even happens, and, Khonshu is somebody that, is all about, all about, justice and everything. But, I used to be Khonshu's avatar, and which was a shock to me to hear that. But apparently he was Khonshu, like Khonshu used him, like as, a revenge, like as a revenge, you know what I mean? Like to get revenge on people, not as to get justice for people, but to get revenge and stuff. Like he was the vengeful, like, avatar for Khonshu, not the justice version that Mark is. So that was really cool, that at the moment where, like, he's saying everything that Khonshu is saying, because as we all know at this moment, Steven is Steven, not Mark. So even Khonshu's saying, slit his throat, you know what I mean? You have him in your sights, blah, 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 expecting, like, that Steven will just do that, or Steven will just let Mark take over. But as we all know, Steven doesn't want Mark taking over because he doesn't want any more blood on his hands. He kind of wants to hear Arthur Harrow out on why, should I listen to you? Why should I give you the scarab? Like, what do you need it for? And he needs it to re-erect Ammit, and so she can do that, like, so she could, like, I guess, save people from committing evilest crimes and evilest doings. And he's like, what if it's a kid, like, that hasn't committed a crime yet? What, would you kill the kid? Like, this isn't okay. Kind of realizing that he is a bad dude. Like, it's like he shouldn't, like, he's not buying what Arthur Harrow is putting down, saying that, Ammit's a good guy. She'll help out. Like, no, they're not falling for it. They're all about killing kids and killing people and just on the purpose of them stopping evilest crimes by just killing them before they do it or whatever. And that's just crazy. So we get to the moment where, like, Layla comes in, and right now Arthur Harrow is about to, like, attack Steven because Steven's like, I don't know where the scarab is. I'm sorry. And Mark's telling him not to give up Layla because Layla ends up having the scarab, and apparently they've been searching forever for it, and we don't quite know why yet. So I'm excited to understand why they were on these expeditions, why they had to look for the scarab. How does she know that, again, Mark even had the suit? She clearly doesn't know that Mark, hasn't been in control of his body all this time, and occasionally gets control of his body. She doesn't know quite why Mark isn't acting like Mark and lives in a flat in England and all that. So she doesn't know any of this stuff yet. So that's going to be interesting to see on how she discovers on why he's acting like that, and when we find out why, again, Mark doesn't have control and why he ended up going to England. We don't know any of this stuff yet, and I'm excited to find all this out. But it was just a big shock to me to find out that, again, Khonshu was, Arthur Harrow was Khonshu's old avatar. That's crazy to me. So it's kind of like really, I feel like this is really personal that, after whatever happened, I don't know why Khonshu left Arthur Harrow, but it seems like this is a revenge trip for Arthur, worshipping another god of Ammit and pretty much trying to get revenge on Khonshu, it seems like. And it seems like, I don't know what happened between Arthur and Khonshu, but I'm excited to see if they'll explain that. So I'm just excited to see everything going forward in the rest of the season, because it's insane, guys, what's going on right now. Like, I'm loving it. I'm just loving the show so much. And just what a great day. We got tickets and we got this. And we get the moment where, like, again, he's threatening, pretty much saying, I don't want to use this tool, Steven, but I will if you don't tell me what a scarab is. Layla comes in, and, like, already, like, Mark did not want Steven to bring in Layla, and Mark tried telling Steven that, don't let Layla see the Scarab because she'll want to get involved. We have to protect her. We can't let her get involved in all this. And that's why he wanted to send her the divorce papers so she wouldn't get involved, so she would stay safe, it seems like. So, I mean, already, like, she's already involved, and I feel like, in a way, it was really, like, it was really touching to see the moment where, like, Steven actually, you know, in a way, had a wife. You know what I mean? And, like, it wasn't like, I mean, it was in his other personality that he had a wife. And as we all know, Steven, in this personality, can't get a date. He can't, you know, have a social life. He can't do anything. So it's like he's upset that Mark would screw up his life, and you know what I mean, of him having a marriage and screwing it up. And he's like, oh, wow, like he's an idiot for letting you go and all that stuff. And I feel like, you know, that was really, like, in a way, Layla's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird that he thinks it was weird that, you know, he let me go, because she doesn't know that, again, Steven is Steven and not Mark. So I just love all that. And she comes in there with the Scarab. They end up running out, and then we see, again, Arthur Harrow, like, summoning a beast. And I was like, that's another jackal. He's able to summon the jackals through Ammit's power, and I thought that was really cool that he's able to do that. And, of course, like, Layla's like, summon your suit. He's like, I can't, I can't, I don't know how, or I'm afraid to, I can't do it. And she's kind of like, I feel like she's realizing yet, but not really realizing that, again, that's not Mark. He's not putting on an act. That's actually Steven, and he's been trying to explain that to her throughout this. So I feel like at some point she will gather that Steven and Mark are two different people, and I'm excited to see how that's all going to go down. But that was just a really cool moment when he finally, you know, gets knocked out the window by the jackal, because she doesn't see anything when the jackal ends up busting through the door. And he gets up, thrown out the window, and, you know, Khonshu's like, summon the suit, and he summons the Mr. Knight suit. And I love it, the one moment when they're looking in the reflection. These are the same pictures that got released earlier, before the season even premiered, of the first look at Mr. Knight. And I love how Mark is like, Steven, what are we wearing? Why do we look like Colonel Sanders? And he's like, oh, I kind of like it. You said summon a suit, and I summoned a suit, or whatever. I thought that was really cool. So that makes me think that Steven Grant is going to be the personality that's going to be rolling with Mr. Knight. And, you know, because we clearly saw that Mark had no idea about this kind of suit. He's like, what are we wearing? Oh, we're supposed to be wearing the wraps of Khonshu, you know, the you know, the gift of Khonshu. Like, what is this? So I think that going forward, Steven will hone the Mr. Knight costume, and then bring out Mark Spector when he has to be Moon Knight and really, you know, give the beatings. So I really like that, and we kind of saw the beginning of that, where, like, Mark is, you know, Steven's trying to fight, you know, the jackal just by himself because he refuses to let Mark out. And that was very funny, because he pulls up his sleeves like, oh, come on, let's go, and gets one good punch in, but then gets smacked up against the bus, and then kind of, he's like, oh, like, Mark says, Steven, are you done? Are you going to let me help now, so no other people get hurt? And he's like, okay, and he lets, you know, Mark take over. And that was a really cool moment where he was like, and like, he like transforms and stuff. I thought that was really cool, and ends up, you know, that's when Mark takes over, and Layla's like, oh, you know, get the jackal out of here, you know, lead it away from the crowd of people. And that was really cool to see that moment where he's running on the rooftops, jumping over. And again, we get that moment in the trailer where he's jumping over and it makes the Moon Knight logo. I really love how we're getting all these moments now. And I just love the moment where, like, he says, oh, come on, trying to get him in the right place to turn around and slice him. And really, like, I guess, like, his idea was he wanted to impale the jackal, which he impales the jackal on this, like, structure. And that was really cool to see that. And he catches the Moonerang, and then pretty much, you know, and just, like, does a cool pose. I just loved all that. I thought that was really sick, really cool. And I'm just loving this show, guys. Like, again, like, and we get the moment where, like, he realized, like, he's looking for the Scarab, and he realizes he doesn't have it. And I thought when he powered down, I thought, okay, is this Steven or is this Mark? But it was Mark, because Mark screamed when he couldn't find the Scarab, and he screamed at the fact that, like, he got Layla now involved. Like, Steven got Layla involved, and it's like, oh, great, what am I gonna do? And not only that, but I lost the Scarab, and it's like, Steven's messing up my plan, like, messing up my last bidding for Khonshu. Like, this is just messed up right now. And we get this the big conversation between Khonshu and Mark, and them talking about, like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then we're done. And he's like, oh, well, you know, I have another, you know, candidate in mind, and, you know, and you're very fond of her, or whatever, she's very close to you. And I feel like in a way Mark's like doesn't like how like Khonshu is threatening him, saying, "Oh, I'll just take over your wife if when you're done." And I feel like we're never done. You know what I mean? You thinking that this is your body when it's actually my body now. And it's like in a way Khonshu is like, he's just a typical god saying, like, I brought you back to life. You're gonna do my bidding. You're my avatar now. And if you don't like it, I'm just going to go after somebody else that I'm very fond of, that you're fond of, which is your wife. And I feel like he just hates that. That he feels like he's trapped. And it goes to show back to, again, what Arthur Harrow was saying earlier to Steven, and even Mark was hearing it, because he even says to Steven, oh, like, is Mark hearing this right now? And he's like, Khonshu may say it's like, this is your one last mission, but it's never your one last thing. It's always going to keep going. He's always going to keep saying like, oh, one more, but he's just going to keep going with you and using you as an avatar. And I just love how like he is trying to get into Mark's head. He's trying to get into Steven, trying to convince Steven that, look, we're on the right side, but also kind of trying to convince Mark, saying, oh, like, he's tricking you, he's bad, don't let him take over you. And pretty much trying to get both of them to agree, because also Khonshu can't hurt anybody unless Steven takes over, and essentially when until Mark takes over, because when Mark takes over, he's able to access Khonshu, which then again Khonshu takes over as Mark's avatar to even do all the fighting and all that stuff, and to summon the soul of Khonshu, summon the power of Khonshu. So I really like that he really couldn't hurt Steven when he was listening to Arthur Harrow. He couldn't do anything until Mark was able to summon the power of Khonshu to follow through with the bidding and all that stuff. So I thought that was really cool, again, that we're getting all this. So I'm just loving what we're getting, guys. I'm excited to see the next episode, because we end off this episode where Khonshu ends up sending Mark to Egypt. So we're going to get a lot of cool stuff in Egypt. I feel like maybe next week we'll get a lot of an explanation on, again, we'll see the death of maybe Mark and how he got his abilities, even though we kind of have an understanding on how he did, through Khonshu explaining it to Mark and all that stuff, or like, oh, like when I found you, you know what I mean, like, oh, I brought you back so I could use you as an avatar, this and that. And I feel like we kind of got an understanding of why and what happened, but I'm excited to see it all play out. And to see more of, the marriage between Mark and Layla, and to see all the adventures they go on, and to see why that they had to come across the Scarab. Like, did he die and then he was working with her, and that's how she knew he had the suit, and that's why they were looking for the Scarab until they did find the Scarab, but maybe he wanted to like get away from her, and so that way she wouldn't get involved, so she wouldn't get hurt. I don't know, because in a way he knew that. Because I'm pretty sure maybe Khonshu maybe threatened Layla, saying, look, if you, look, if you don't, follow through on all this, and if you don't just suck it up, I'm just gonna take over your wife and all that. So I feel like maybe that's why he sent her away. It seems like that's why he did, and also to keep her out of danger. So I'm just excited to see everything going forward, and I just thought this was another great episode of Moon Knight. But guys, I'm super excited to hear what you guys thought about this episode of Moon Knight. Again, I thought it was crazy. I thought it was insane. I thought it was cool. And I'm loving the story. It's so interesting, so cool. And it's so cool to see what they take from the comics and what they don't take from the comics. So I'm just excited to see how things are going to play out. And again, we only have a couple more episodes left. I think we only have we only have 4 more episodes left, guys. So, and it's really, the weeks are really going by quick. So I'm just excited for next week's episode. But guys, I can't wait to hear down in the comments below what you guys thought about this episode. Let me know what Easter eggs you guys saw. Let me know what you guys are what your theories are on what the next episodes could be like and where this could go. I'm just super excited to see what we're gonna see in the next couple of episodes. I really do think by far this is the best Disney Plus show, and I'm super excited because I'm excited to give my ranking after the season is done. I feel like I feel like I already know what the ranking is now just to say it, but I might make a video on me ranking them. But guys, again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, put on those notifications, like this video. I'd love to have you guys here, a part of the fam, a part of the channel. We're all about spreading love, positivity, and motivation. And guys, we're almost again to 500 subscribers. So yet again, if you've come across my videos before, I would just like it again. If you like the video, turn on the notification bell, and again, subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. But guys, that was the video. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday for episode 3 of Moon Knight. Peace.